when I start saying crazy stuff because I look and I go, oh, that's your big homie, right? And so you image yourself after a gay painter. Big homie want to look like a gay painter.
50 Cent caused outrage by criticizing Diddy's look, suggesting hidden truths beneath the industry's quiet. His jab wasn't simply about appearances. It was a direct attack on power dynamics and hidden goals. Then, as the discussion became more personal, 50 Cent doubled down with a cheeky statement that raised fans' eyes. He replied, "No, I don't know much more about Puffy Juice. No more Puffy Juice. However, there are some things that are not actually beef. That is simply competitive competition." He dismissed any mention of real enmity, portraying it all as fun competition on the surface, but the tone spoke more than the words. He'd had his fill of Diddy's world and was ready to move on from the Puffy Juice lifestyle. It felt like a silent withdrawal from a society where he had previously played. Some interpreted it as 50 dividing business games and personal limits. Others thought he was hinting at something deeper, something business insiders are hesitant to speak aloud. And just when the Diddy drama looked to be rising, things took a darker, stranger turn. Another name emerged, this time from a moment that many had forgotten. Comedian Theo Von brought it back into the forefront with a scary recounting of a true story involving Diddy.
Most people remember the video. It was in 2018. He was the Trump Doral hotel shooter, and he's like a bald guy, and everyone's seen clips of him or photos of him in his like weird hospital gown with one arm out and one arm. And he like went into the Trump hotel in Doral and shot a gun in the air a bunch of times, not at anyone, and then like took over the lobby of the hotel and draped a giant American flag over it. Very like bizarre behavior. And then got into a shootout with police, got shot, ran away, surrendered, this whole thing. And it turned out that once he got, apprehended and taken in, there's this video that went on the internet that was from his like medical examination or something, but it's like a 30-minute video that a lot of people saw at the time, but everyone kind of forgot about because he was clearly insane. He was making bizarre claims, like he was Diddy's slave, and that Diddy had forced him to have sex with his girlfriend Cassie, and that he had contracted an STD from them and then had sued. And then he also talks about like the Black Boule and the Illuminati playing cards, and he's like trying to warn Trump. Apparently the whole ordeal was him trying to get Trump's attention so that he could save Trump from the Illuminati.
The story sounds almost hard to believe. In 2018, a man attacked Trump's Stall Hotel, blazing bullets into the air before hanging a large American flag over the lobby. He was finally arrested following a gunfight with police. In it, he claimed to be Diddy's ex-slave who had been forced into unpleasant scenarios with Cassie and had caught an STD as a result. He shouted feverishly about the Illuminati and the Black Bow, claiming he was merely trying to warn Trump about a hidden entity that controls everything. At the time, they ignored it as the rantings of a mentally disturbed guy. However, in light of the lawsuits and testimonials coming out against Diddy, people are beginning to wonder if it was all a delusion or a warning that no one took seriously as the talk continued. Theo Von went more deeper. This time, he focused his attention on something that frequently goes unnoticed: expensive jets, celebrity lives, and something far more scary beneath the surface.
Trafficking, he implies very large amounts of drugs. Like, I would assume bricks and bricks and bricks of drugs on their private jets. And that got me thinking, and I started looking up which celebrities own private jets and how far can their private jets fly, and a lot of them do own private jets. Jay-Z's private jet is like famous or noteworthy because it has a very long range, so it can fly international, intercontinental. And so that's interesting because when you do start to look into how private jets get treated at airports and stuff like that, I'm no expert. I've never been to these private jets, but there's a lot of loopholes that are available, and you could definitely imagine that being a pretty smart way to do such a thing.
Right.
Yeah, we have a lot of history of both the feds and, say organized crime that works in the music industry, trafficking.
In this part, Theo says that enormous amounts of drugs could be transported using private jets, taking advantage of airport security flaws and loopholes. He notes that many celebrities own jets capable of international travel, citing Jay-Z's jet as an example of one with long-range capability. The inference is that if someone wants to carry unlawful items without detection, private aviation is the best choice. While Theo admits he's no expert, the concept taps into a long-held fear that organized crime and some segments of the music industry have long utilized wealth and fame to hide more serious operations. And just when the spotlight seemed to be on Diddy alone, Theo Von turned his attention to the major players, the prominent ones that are rarely mentioned. He admitted that these lawsuits showed not only stunning conduct, but also a whole system that many people had never noticed before.
In a lot of ways, my introduction to all these people, like I didn't know who Lucian Grange was before I read those lawsuits. I wasn't paying attention to pop culture, but the moment you read those lawsuits, it's immediately apparent, and just logically apparent, that if Diddy's throwing all these parties, Universal Music Group is in some way financially involved. But the lawsuit alleges that they're directly financially involved. And the lawsuit alleges that Lucian Grange frequently attended them and probably funded some of them, and certainly had secret meetings, or at least allegedly had secret meetings with Diddy frequently.
In his bedroom.
Yeah, in his bedroom for an hour or more. And so all of that, like even suppose, Lucian Grange and Universal Music Group, they get taken off of Little Rod's lawsuit, which was very strange.
Theo explains how the cases introduced him and others to figures such as Lucian Grange, CEO of Universal Music Group. He claims that the documents not only link Universal to Diddy's infamous parties, but also allege direct financial involvement. What's more disturbing is that Grange reportedly attended these events and even held covert meetings in Diddy's bedroom. Whether these contacts were official or personal is unknown, but their frequency and location raise serious concerns. The weird thing is that Grange and Universal were discreetly dropped from one of the cases. As the layers peeled back, Theo couldn't help but wonder about the quiet disappearances that were taking place behind the scenes. He brought up a scary point. Sometimes the most powerful names leave, not because they are innocent, but because they can.
It's understandable that a powerful person would be taken off the lawsuit just because powerful people can get their names, protected. But in this case, like Lucian Grange would be a star witness in any regard. Even if he wasn't guilty, he would so they don't want any kind of scrutiny. They don't want anyone looking at Lucian. They don't want anyone looking at Christina. And in Lil Rod's lawsuit, he names the guy that was in charge of Diddy's computer system. He names the guy that was his tech guy that was in charge of all the cameras. And no one's ever spoken about him since. He's just...
Theo discusses how individuals such as Lucian and Grange may be sheltered from lawsuits not only to defend their innocence, but also to avoid scrutiny completely. Even if a person is not guilty, their presence as a witness may bring unwanted attention. He points out how certain names, such as Christina and Diddy's tech guy, who supposedly manages all of his computer systems and video feeds, appear once and then never again. There are no interviews or follow-ups, just quiet. That type of disappearance, especially in such a high-profile instance, raises serious concerns. It implies a network of silent power conspiring to keep certain people and truths out of the spotlight. After creating a bleak picture of control, dread, and trauma, Theo changes his focus to the long-term psychological effects of abuse. He considers how addiction, violence, and manipulation, especially when they begin at an early age, can completely change a victim's life.
You're 19 and drugs that are very quickly very addictive are involved, and very serious physical abuse is involved from that early age.
Yeah.
And the types of abuses we're talking about when you try to leave, when you try to wrong him at all, the ways that people describe Diddy's abuse, from that age onwards, that does something to your brain that I do not blame her for. Her complete, because let's be real. Diddy's a bigger dude that could beat her senseless, that we've seen beat her senseless, right? And so if she's complicit in any of those crimes while she's, with him, that is Diddy's crime.
Right.
And we have more than enough evidence to see that's Diddy's fault and Diddy's crime.
Theo talks Cassie, who was only 19 when she became acquainted with Diddy, and why her narrative is one of the most heartbreaking. He highlights the dangerous combination of drugs, manipulation, and violent abuse she allegedly experienced. From the start, when she tried to leave or speak up for herself, the effects were severe. Theo adds that what happened to her is more than just a terrible relationship. It is the result of long-term psychological and physical control. Even if she was participating in questionable conduct at the time, he says the fault is solely on Diddy. He built an environment that did not allow for choice, instead rewarding obedience and silence. And for years, silence kept the truth hidden. Following Theo's breakdown of Cassie's story, another voice from the past spoke out. Freddie P., a former performer from Making the Band, spoke up with a real, emotional viewpoint that pierced through the cacophony and shed light on Diddy's world.
Yeah, man, that's another level right there, man. Like, a lot of that stuff for me was like, it was a lot to intake, because I try to tell people be like, well, Cassie stayed, this and that. Well, people gotta understand, like, bro, when you dealing with a person, I don't know, because a lot of people never, been in a situation, so it's best to explain. When you dealing with a person with that type of wealth who can change your life, you basically will do anything for them. I hear everybody be saying what they saying, but let's say, you got people like that around you now. We got people that did time for like that around him. I mean, that did time for him. It's documented.
Freddie P defends Cassie and tries to explain what many outsiders fail to understand. He discusses the immense effect that comes with someone as wealthy and powerful as Diddy, how that kind of power is not only financial, but also psychological. Freddie describes how the people surrounding Diddy were willing to risk anything for him, including going to prison, because his status gave him godlike power in their eyes. For Cassie, who is young and sensitive, that setting has the potential to twist love, loyalty, and fear into a trap from which she may never escape. Freddie isn't just protecting her, he's showing the network of silence, devotion, and manipulation that has kept everything secret for so long. Freddie P did not stop at defending Cassie. He went even deeper, showing how far loyalty can go when one feels obligated to power. What he said next wasn't just about Diddy, it was about an attitude that has kept people quiet for years.
What happens is, when you rich and you got an opportunity to change people's lives, people tend to do things that they would have never done. Look at Sean, did 10 years for him. Me, I would have took a life for him. I ain't gonna lie, I told y'all that plenty of times just by the loyalty, because of what he did for me and what the opportunity was for me and my family. So I can imagine what Cassie and everybody else had to go through for so long. So many people had.
Freddie considers how Diddy's wealth and power affected the allegiance of those around him. He mentions Shine, who did a decade in prison for Diddy, and admits he would have killed for him as well because of what he thinks has kept so many others quiet for so long. When someone offers you a way out of poverty or difficulty, it is tough to challenge, let alone expose them. He imagines Cassie's experience in that same environment, surrounded by people who would go to any length to keep the secret. His statements make one thing very plain: the quiet around Diddy was not a mistake. It was purchased, conditioned, and deeply entrenched in fear and appreciation. As Freddie P continued, his words shifted from personal experience to a wider, more troubling trend. He wasn't simply talking about Diddy anymore. He was pointing to something much bigger and far more dangerous.
We like, since people don't understand, like, I'm 43. Since I was in school, we've been hearing rumors, but nothing concrete like this. So when you hear this finally, and then he have to admit to this because he trying to plead his innocence. So things that's already documented, he know the feds got evidence of, he have to admit to it in front of his family, in front of his daughters, in front of everybody. You get what I'm saying? And for so long, so many people kept that secret. I don't know how, like Wendy Williams. I say this because I say it's a repetitive cycle of mysterious mysterious things that happen to people that know about this situation before we did. When you look at Wendy Williams, it's like they wiped her whole memory. Justin Bieber, half of his face was gone. Everybody if you look right now, Justin Bieber eating pizza, he's sending messages. Everybody know about Pizzagate. When you go through Instagram, once you get knowledge of what's going on in Pizzagate, then you go back and do your history of how long they've been doing it right in front of our faces. It's not only Puffy, it's a culture. It's the people that's around them. It's Hollywood.
Freddie describes how allegations about Diddy's behavior had been swirling for decades since he was in school. But with real lawsuits, admissions, and government scrutiny, the whispers have finally become incontrovertible truths. Freddie discusses how Diddy is being forced to share parts of the truth in front of his own family, rather than the public, since the proof is too compelling to deny. Then he delves deeper, listing bizarre incidents involving public personalities who may have known too much. Wendy Williams, Justin Bieber, and others. He mentions memory loss, facial paralysis, and coded communications, all of which are linked to what many refer to as elite Hollywood secrets. Freddie's message is clear. Diddy, is not acting alone. This is about power, control, and Hollywood's dark society, which has been lying in plain sight for far too long. Freddie P's comments weren't limited to the music business or personal hardship. He investigated what he thinks to be the spiritual and psychological basis of the entire system.
They are. They belong to that. I don't know why people be seeming so amazed with what's going on right now. They belong to Satan. You get what I'm saying? That's the agendas they push is in your face. So some people just have to understand that when you're dealing with a person like that, you'll tend to do anything for them, because if you don't, you go back to nothing. And the longer you're around a person, the further you come from, you remove yourself from nothing. What I mean is, you don't want, if I go to the 12th grade, I don't want to quit school. That's like everybody didn't understand with the band. Okay, the more I did, I walked for cheesecake, I did this. So yeah, it was humiliating, but I'm getting closer and closer to my goal. And that's probably how she felt and all these other women felt dealing with that situation. I'm getting closer and closer to the promises he made. I'm getting closer. So yeah, I don't want to walk away after I don't, all right, you accepted one in your mouth. The second one, you might feel a little different about. You like, I done took 1 and 2, before you know it, it's 3, 4, 5, and it's
Freddie thinks that some of the people at the top, such as Diddy, are not just strong, but also advancing dark, destructive agendas. He boldly thinks they belong to Satan, implying that their power stems from something far more terrible than mere celebrity or wealth. Freddie emphasizes how people stuck in that society, particularly ladies like Cassie, don't stay solely for the lifestyle. They stay because leaving would mean returning to nothing. It eventually gets normalized. The more degrading acts they face, the more they convince themselves that it's all part of the process to obtain their reward. As Freddie P continued to talk, his words became more intimate, delving into how people explain agony when their lives are on the line. He didn't only confront Cassie, he called out Diddy's system and identity, which he built to safeguard his image and secrets. Just when you thought the stories couldn't get any darker, Chopper, a former Making the Band artist, shared a terrifying story. He recalled a time when he stayed silent because no one would have believed him.
It's a good one. Double-edged sword. Number one, you know, I feel like the whole Cassie situation with the Kid Cudi situation, you know, I feel like that's understandable. Women gonna do what they do, period. Now, the thing that I want to get clear is, with my Art of Dialogue interviews, you hear me, things that I said, you hear me, back in the G, I probably couldn't even say it because nobody would have believed me, you know. But now that people understand that I was keeping it real, you heard me, keeping it G. When I told people, when I was in Floyd Mayweather's strip club and I seen Cassie, and she's like, Chop, come here. And she told me that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi car. It's ironic and funny that when it come out now, you dig, everybody like.
In this video, Chopper describes a private chat he had with Cassie years ago at Floyd Mayweather's strip club. According to him, she told him specifically that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi's car, an incident that has just resurfaced and stunned the world. Chopper points out how odd it is that people rejected his warnings at the time, but now that there are lawsuits and new proof, what he warned makes sense. He uses this chance to emphasize how industry insiders have known these facts for years, but have remained silent due to fear, power, and unbelief. What originally sounded like chatter now appears to be a scary puzzle coming together. Chopper did not stop after sharing what Cassie had informed him. He spoke hopefully about his feelings as he sees everything develop in public. He made it clear that, while the truth is now getting out, the way in which it is being revealed raises fresh issues about allegiance, timing, and motive.
You're gonna see it now, you're gonna say, wow, everything Chop's saying, bro, he's telling the truth. So how I feel about it is this: I didn't think Kid Cudi needed to beat up. You understand? I feel like Diddy has already been crucified enough. You heard me? To the point where he didn't need Kid Cudi to do that to him, because all Kid Cudi did as a black man is let these people know that, you know, he's capable of doing these things. I didn't think Kid Cudi needed to beat up. I didn't, you know, as a black man, you know, as a woman, as a black woman, or just a woman, period, that's understandable. But as a black man, you don't go and kick a man while he's down.
Chopper shares his conflicted feelings as Kid Cudi confirmed the vehicle bombing story. While he thinks Cassie told him the truth, he wonders if Cudi needed to speak out now, given Diddy's already severe criticism. From Chopper's viewpoint, keeping on to a man who is already being torn down does not feel good, especially coming from another black man. He makes a contrast, saying that it is more understandable for women to speak up because of what they have been through. But Cudi thinks it looked like kicking someone while they were already down. It's a challenging view that doesn't justify Diddy's conduct but grapples with the complexities of exposure, accountability, and community. Chopper's reaction to Kid Cudi's participation was more than just disappointment, it changed to outright doubt. He started to question not only the timing, but the reliability of the entire testimony.
And I felt like it was allegedly, because even this, and this is a real source for my people who went to court. Shout out to my dog Rennie, you heard me? Just got off the phone with him. He went to court today because he keep me updated on what's going on, And he told me that everything was Kid Cudi kept saying was allegedly, which means I have no valid proof that Diddy actually did that, because when Kid Cudi called Diddy, he said Diddy was just calm, he was cool, he was collective, and Diddy was like, what are you talking about? So as a black man, and this has nothing to do with race, but period, as a black man, I thought it was a sucker move for Kid Cudi to go there and testify.
According to a close acquaintance who attended court, much of Kid Cudi's comments were presented as allegedly. That term, Chopper contends, undermines the allegation, especially in the lack of substantial evidence. He even says that when Cudi allegedly approached Diddy, Diddy appeared calm and puzzled, denying any involvement. To Chopper, such event raised question rather than shame. He sees Cudi's testimony as dubious and considers a maneuver. Not because the truth shouldn't be revealed, but because making charges without sufficient proof, especially during a time of public devastation, seems opportunistic. After doubting the veracity of Kid Cudi's claims, Chopper stepped back to provide a more thoughtful perspective. He understood the difficulty of judging someone like Cudi, whose journey was not founded in street culture. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more videos like